For more on these FBI insider trading arrests, let's bring back Tom Newkirk. He's co-chairman of the Securities Litigation Group at Jenner Block, and he was an official at the SEC for 19 years. He joins us from our Washington newsroom. Also joining us again on the phone, former federal prosecutor John Fahy. Mr. Newkirk, you were listening to that press conference. Your reaction?
Well, it's a great day for the Department of Justice and for the SEC, and now remains to be seen what they can do with the people who haven't pled. It's easy to charge people, but it's not so easy sometimes to convict them, although it sounds to me like the business with the cell phones and other stuff that's going to be self-incriminating and it's going to show a high degree of knowing that you're doing something wrong is going to help the government a lot in prosecuting those cases.
And Mr. Fahy, let me get you back in here, too. Again, we were talking before the press conference started. Again, we're seeing action taking place across governmental agencies.
Yes, and the feds, sometimes the feds do not play as friendly as they should with each other. Sometimes there's jealousy between the various agencies. It's obvious with these arrests and with these charges that everybody's on the same page and they're working very well together. I'd like to point one thing out, though. What makes this case very unusual with other insider trading cases is not just the hedge fund angle, but also that wiretaps are not used very often in these types of cases. They do consensual recordings, which means somebody would wear a wire on their body if they were cooperating. But to actually have telephone wiretaps in cases like this is very unusual. And when you have cases like that, people cooperate quickly, especially white-collar criminal-type people who basically have generally have middle-class type values, have never been in trouble before. They finally get caught. They are very, very prone to plead guilty, because if you plead guilty and cooperate early on, that's the only chance you have of cutting down on the exposure that you would have to prison. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to see a lot more cases brought by the FBI and by the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York.
Former federal prosecutor John Fahy joining us on the phone. Also joining us today, Tom Newkirk, co-chairman of the Securities Litigation Group at Jenner Block. Gentlemen, thanks so much. Let's bring back our guests, Tom Newkirk and John Fahy, talking about this press conference and what we had been hearing. Mr. Newkirk, I thought it was interesting because there was a statement that one of the FBI officials made, Mr. Kuzami, and he said if you find yourself chewing on a SIM card from a cell phone, you probably need to examine your character.
Well, Rob's got a great sense of humor, and that was he was making his point there that, you know, this isn't the movie show of The Wire. This is the real world here, and that people who are engaged in conduct like that got a big problem. I expect that a lot of people are going to be rushing to see their lawyers and play back all the conversations they've had with the people who are charged today to see what in the world they may have told them over the last several years.
Mr. Fahy, is this shaking the street to its foundation?
I don't know about foundations, but I think it's shaking the street because they're not used to phones being wiretapped. I mean, everyone knows if you do an email that the emails live forever. With cell phones, people feel sometimes a little bit more comfortable talking on cell phones, and even on hardline phones, they feel a little bit more comfortable. But with this, that comfort level ends. I'd like to point out one other thing. The fact that the people at the press conference referred to bags of cash being paid and the SIM card being chewed and then the throwaway phone being crumpled up, that shows you how many people, or at least one or two people, that are cooperating and have already told that story, because that's not the kind of thing you'd hear on a wiretap. That's not the kind of thing you'd get on video. That's somebody that was there watching the SIM card being chewed, collecting or paying the bag of cash, and then throwing the phone away. So my guess is the government has very strong cases in this. And again, I think we're going to see more cases within the next couple months.
No, Mr. Fahy, is that a page out of the RICO statute?
It is. What it is that, and one of the comments I think that the FBI person said was that if they're going to behave like common criminals and they're going to use the tactics of common criminals, then the government has to respond in kind, and they have to use wiretaps, and they have to use the tactics that they would use against organized crime, and especially with the RICO statute. The RICO statute is probably the strongest statute that the feds have in their arsenal, and this shows how serious they are about making sure that these offenses are prosecuted.
Right. John Fahy, former federal prosecutor, Tom Newkirk, co-chair of Securities Litigation Group at Jenner Block.